Hello and welcome to the Kopala TV main news. And now for today's headlines. PF demands that HH apologizes and stops calling the Bimbas and Visas in Pika thugs. UPND on the Copperbelt says the PF has continued to panic in Lufanyama district. Government urged through the Ministry of Agriculture to give guidance to farmers. In international news, Trump nominee testifies in Supreme Court hearing. Join us in a bit for the news in detail. To present the Kopala TV main news, my name is Wabula Musongole. The ruling Patriotic Front, PF in Muchinga province, has condemned in the strongest possible terms the hypocrisy, irresponsibility, disrespect and indifference that the opposition United Party for National Development, UPND President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has continued to portray whenever he aims to garner public sympathy for cheap political mileage. The PF has further demanded that Mr. Hichilema apologizes and stops calling the Bimbas and Visas in Mpika thugs, saying it is demeaning and reduces the sanctity of our humanity. Muchinga Province Youth Chairman Francis Robert Kampianga has said that Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was not attacked in Mpika, saying that it is actually his unruly supporters that he imported from Southern Province ahead of his trip who tried to cause confusion in Mpika as they passed. Mr. Kapyanga says for someone seeking public office like Mr. Hichilema, they expect that by now he would have ideas on how best to conduct oneself both as a leader and a responsible citizen. Mpika and Muchinga province are arguably the most peaceful regions of Zambia, but will not allow lawlessness as exhibited by Mr. Hichilema and his cadres.
Apologizes and stops calling us Bimbas and Bisas in Mpika as thugs. It is so demeaning and reduces the sanctity of our humanity. He should not call us names for denying him a vote for a tribal man he is. To begin with, Mr. Hichilema was not attacked in Mpika. It's actually his unruly supporters and hoodlums that he imported from Southern Province ahead of his trip who tried to cause confusion in Mpika as they passed.
Meanwhile, UPND Copperbelt Information and Publicity Secretary Lawrence Mwanza told Kopala TV News that the PF has continued to panic in Lufanyama district on the Copperbelt. Mr. Mwanza says first it was Vice President Inonge Wina who visited Lufanyama and addressed the people who are still waiting for her promises, and just this past weekend, President Edgar Lungu was in Lufanyama doing the same. Mr. Mwanza disagreed with the president's statement in which he said Lufanyama can only be developed if they have representation in form of members of parliament, council chairpersons and councillors.
Within a space of 2 weeks, the PF has continued to panic in Lufanyama district on the Copperbelt Rural. First it was Vice President Inonge Wina who visited Lufanyama and told the lies to the people who are still waiting for our promises. Just this week, and President Edgar Lungu was in Lufanyama to tell further lies to the people. According to Mr. Lungu, Lufanyama can only be developed if they have representation in forms of MP, council chairperson, or councillors. This is a blue line. We have seen areas with PF MPs, but underdeveloped.
Save the Environment and People Agency, SEPA, has joined forces with the Road Crews Partnership for Resilience, Netherlands Red Cross under the project SADCA Great Green Hall Initiative and has embarked on a project to plant trees, sensitize and dialogue with the communities on the environment. SEPA held a planning meeting with Red Cross and the local council in Zambezi district to plan on how they are going to carry out the sensitization and the planting of trees in the community. The project is in line with Sustainable Development Goal SDG number 13, which calls for urgent action to combat climate change and its impact. And SEPA Chief Executive Officer Miles Zulu says the aim of this project is to inform, educate and change the mindset of the children in their schools and engage charcoal burners that are cutting trees to sustain their livelihoods.
Of course, we are going to have someone who is going to manage the same finances when needed.
In case you have just tuned in, you're watching the Kopala TV main news. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
Kopala TV, Kopala ya buena mumwesu Kopala.
My number ishusho limentindeaza yama OG urushani Kopala TV
yama OG imuntu wandi Yesu fwebene by fwebene aidede kalasti yako Kopala futi yaba Kopala
manje kuikatashani yoina na yena ya kuntamboro ni jiviji
wala iwe ile sango patop stad koda channel 98 paku ninshi yatubira puta mensa ninshi yalila ni efizimbwe kule izimoli la femunjazi
so yorilandati Kopala TV tayabanga ya boiling channel wako batu wachilatamba fe wino kwangwa filamba fyambo kupona uruwa mfotoro bantu ifuma chane wefingi fyamo pura fi
alula iwe Kopala TV ni Kopala futhi eile kuchalo no shali mokuba molasti elo ile sansa Kopala yonse my number ukwambila pepa my number pandola lwansha kito paketi ke mufurila mufuken chingola pa chingo begi na chidila iwe ni Kopala TV eiliko
muntu wanja pakushongora fika top star wetata nde tambela pofi Kopala TV pachani 98 pakude konkana ne charo bamba to bamba ni pate after pate wo pate after pate wo
Kopala TV OG yeah.
Kopala TV, available on Topstar Channel 98. Kopala TV, entertainment just for you.
One Zambia, one nation.
Zambia chalo chesu. Stop political violence.
I am Zambian. I am against political violence.
I am Zambian, and I say disarm all cadres now.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
It's not good killing one another as Zambians. Stop the violence.
Let's keep the peace in our streets. Let's work to stay one Zambia.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
Ndimwina Zambia, lekeni ukulwa pamulandu wa politics.
Welcome back. The United Party for National Development in Southern Province has urged government through the Ministry of Agriculture to give guidance to farmers who might start planting their crops following rains experienced in the country. UPND aspiring candidate for Iteji Obet Namalongo says it is high time that the Meteorological Department and the Ministry of Agriculture Extension Services begin to give people updates and be available to farmers at any cost. Mr. Namalongo has further called on government to support the district and camp extension in Iteji with motorbikes in order for them to reach out to remote areas.
Ministry of Agriculture, guide farmers when to plant. Give a guidance to farmers when to start planting following the rains experienced in the country. It is high time that Meteorological Department begins to give regular updates, and Ministry of Agriculture Extension Services should be available to farmers, especially to the small-scale farmers in rural areas such as Iteji District. District and camp extension officers should be supported with transport motorbikes in order for them to reach out to remote areas that may not be accessible due to poor roads network.
Lastly, in local stories, former Finance Minister Honorable Felix Mutati yesterday officially launched his new political party called Movement for Democratic Change, MDC, at Mika Convention Center in Lusaka. Mr. Mutati said the party has been created for Zambians to bring prosperity through hard work.
We shall urgently increase energy production, distribution, and accessibility country by exploring alternative ways of generating energy. We think energy is a big cost to livelihoods, to business, and we need to change the formula. We understand that to achieve all these things, we need to transform ourselves. We develop a world-learning academic curriculum from primary to tertiary that will be targeted at building a common understanding of our great history, individual responsibility, and accountability to this country in managing our personal, family, community, and national resources.
In case you have just tuned in, you are still watching the Kopala TV main news. We break once more and return with international news.
Kopala TV, Kopala ya buena mumwesu Kopala. Kopala TV.
My number ishusho limentindeyaza yama oji olushani Kopala TV
yama oji imuntu wandi Yesu fwebene by fwebene naidede kalasti yako Kopala futi yaba Kopala
manje kuikatashani yoyina naena ya kuntambo oroni jiviji
wala iwe ile sango patopsta decoder channel 98 paku ninshi yatobela puta mensa ninshi yalila ni efidimbwe kule izimoli la pemunjazi
soyulilandati Kopala TV tayabanga yama boiling channel ako batu wachilatamba fe bwino kwangwa filamba fyambo kupona uluwa mfotolo bantu ifuma channel wefingi fyamupula fi
alula iwe Kopala TV ni Kopala futhi kuchalo no ushali mokuba molasti elo ile sansa Kopala yonse my number ukwambila pepe my number pandula lwansha kito paketi ke mufudila mufukeni chingola pa chingobeki na chidila bombo iwe ni Kopala TV liko.
Muntu wanja pakushongora kufika top star wetata ndetambira pofi Kopala TV pachani o 98 pakude konkana ne charo bumper to bamba ni pate after pate wo pate after pate wo
Kopala TV OG Kopala TV available on Topstar channel 98. Kopala TV, entertainment just for you.
One Zambia, one nation.
Zambia chalo chesu. Stop political violence.
I am Zambian. I am against political violence.
I am Zambian, and I say disarm all cadres now.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
It's not good killing one another as Zambians. Stop the violence.
Let's keep the peace in our streets. Let's work to stay one Zambia.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
Ndimwina Zambia, lekeni ukulwa pamulandu wa politics.
Welcome back once again. U.S. Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett has said she is honored and humbled to be President Trump's pick for a place in the top court during a tense Senate confirmation hearing. The 48-year-old conservative jurist vowed to judge legal cases impartially. But her selection, so close to the 3rd November presidential election, has sparked a fierce political battle. The panel's Republican chairman has predicted a contentious week of questioning ahead. Judge Barrett's approval would cement a 6-3 conservative majority on the 9-member court, altering the ideological balance of the court for potentially decades to come. We monitored the BBC for this story.
I chose to accept the nomination because I believe deeply in the rule of law and the place of the Supreme Court in our nation. I believe Americans of all backgrounds deserve an independent Supreme Court that interprets our Constitution and laws as they are written. And I believe I can serve my country by playing that role.
Millions of students across 12 African countries have headed back to class as schools reopened after a 6-month coronavirus lockdown. In Nigeria, nearly 40 million of them will now have to try to catch up on missed schoolwork. They will also return to a new set of rules as the government continues the struggle to stop the spread of the coronavirus. We monitored Al Jazeera for these details.
It's awesome. I really miss school. Here in Vistas is a family environment.
It's the best environment for learning. Teachers are learning, students are learning.
But it's mixed emotions for parents.
As a parent, I'm actually excited, and at the same time, I have mixed feelings of the security and safety of the children in school.
It's students in private schools like this
who fared better during the COVID-19 disruptions. They had access to online teaching, internet connectivity, and computer technology. Their story is much different from that of public school students.
Private schools are better placed to strictly enforce safety protocols, unlike the overcrowded, poorly funded government schools. But what government schools lack in facilities, they make up for in uninterrupted pay for teachers. Not so for private schools struggling with finances. A government pledge to support businesses to pay staff is yet to happen for many.
It was difficult, I must say. Of course, government couldn't. I understand if they did not, that may be because the pulse of the government itself is lean.
And finally, in foreign news, there are now more COVID-19 patients in UK hospitals than there were the day of lockdown in March. At one hospital in Merseyside, there are currently 90 patients being treated, while there were only 7 a month ago. We monitored the BBC for this story.
Shirley went through it all in March and April with the surge in patients going into intensive care. And now she feels it's happening again.
This is really real. It really is. It frightens me. We all have to look after ourselves, to look after our families, and to look after the wider community. Please take heed of what the government's guidelines are.
The hospital, serving a Merseyside community with one of the highest infection rates in the UK, invited us in today to see just what it means for frontline healthcare. BBC News is donating some personal protective equipment to the hospital. There are now 9 COVID patients here in intensive care, double the number a week ago. A few weeks before it was just 1. That just shows how fast things are escalating and the impact on the hospital.
We've had a really challenging weekend, haven't we? So we know that we're coming out of the weekend with a very busy organisation.
At a Gold Command meeting, the hospital's senior management are told there's been a jump in COVID patient numbers.
We've got 90 current positive inpatients. We've had 13 new positive patients in the last 24 hours.
For frontline staff like Nadine, there's concern at how fast events are.
That item wraps up the Kopala TV main news for today, but before we go, we take a look at the stories that made headlines. PF demands that HH apologizes and stops calling the Bembas and Visas in Mpika thugs. UPND on the Copper Belt says the PF has continued in Lufwanyama district. Government urged through the Ministry of Agriculture to give guidance to farmers. In international news, Trump nominee testifies in Supreme Court hearing. Thank you for watching the Kopala TV main news. My name is Obula Musongole. God bless.